It's time to take off your clothes, enjoy clothes-free living, and join us for Naked, Nudists, and Naturists.
Welcome to Naked, Nudists, and Naturists, the show that celebrates clothes-free living for all. I'm your host, Frank Stone.
And I'm your correspondent, Lisa Monroe, and I'll be reporting on all things within the naturist community. So it's time to get naked and join us.
And enjoy clothes-free living on Naked, Nudists, and Naturists. Well, greetings and welcome in to Naked, Nudists, and Naturists, episode 144 today. Yet another Wednesday extravaganza, just Frank and Lisa, just Lisa and Frank, however you want to put it. We believe this is show number 18 in our list of Wednesday shows now. First show came out on July 30th this year with the plan of doing most Wednesdays. And we've ended up doing every single Wednesday since then, July 30th up until now. And again, episode 144 altogether. Really glad that you're with us today. Ready to enjoy clothes-free living for all of the right reasons. It is 100% normal. That's why we don't say we're here to normalize it. It's already normal. Our only job now is to let everybody know that it's normal. Those who think a bunch of naked people, a bunch of nutcases, no. A bunch of naked people, a bunch of happy people, living joyfully for all of the right reasons. Really glad that you're with us today. So come on in, the pool is fine, clean as a whistle, the hot tub is ready to go, the grill is going full bore with everything you could imagine on it. Fruits and vegetables off to the right, cold drinks off to the left, hot drinks inside, hammock outside the left door if you need a break, want to take a quick nap. We have some putting greens behind the pool area. Back in the pool area, we have a cigar bar in the back left corner. And all of those amenities were recommended by listeners, so they know what they're talking about when they have a naturist gathering. And we even have some extra towels and chairs and lotion. So if you brought nothing at all, you're just wandering by and you see a bunch of cars hanging out, I think I'll stop in and see what's going on. You find out it's this, come on in. We'll take you. We're just glad that you're here, ready and raring to go to enjoy again. Whether you call it nudism, naturism, or clothes-free living for all the right reasons, we're just glad that you're here. So let's do this together and enjoy this next hour or so together. We'll probably be close to an hour by the time we're done. So just sit back and relax, and if you can be clothes-free with us, we're always clothes-free when we broadcast. I think everybody knows that now. And so if you can be clothes-free with us, so much the better. If you cannot, we fully understand that. There are lots of places in life we can't yet take our clothes off. Walking down Main Street would be one of them for sure. Your local bank, your library, the grocery store. Lots of places where you cannot be clothes-free yet. We like to put the word yet in there because that's our goal one of these days. 25-8. Naked as jaybirds wherever we choose to go. Wouldn't that be a great way to live? And of course, this is the day before the United States Thanksgiving. Tomorrow is a big day off for just about everybody in this country. A lot of people still have to work, essential services. Certainly policemen, firemen, medical care workers, broadcast people, not here. We'll be here for a little bit, but we won't be broadcasting tomorrow. But a lot of radio and TV people, obviously pro athletes, football players will be working tomorrow, and their coaches and hot dog vendors and a whole lot of people. But the majority of Americans have tomorrow off to celebrate Thanksgiving. So we hope you're ready to for a big day. We know some of you will be alone, but you have us. So you're listening to us now. You can listen to us again on Thanksgiving, and we are there with you enjoying Thanksgiving. And as you know, tonight, 6 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time is our big Thanksgiving dinner here. We'll be hosting it at my house, and Lisa's basically doing, I'd say, 90% of the cooking. I think some other people are bringing a few dishes, but for the most part, she's doing it all. And she's been in the kitchen for a few hours already, and it smells like Thanksgiving, which is kind of nice. And Jennifer is bringing some pies tonight. We don't know a lot more about that. We'll find more about that, I guess, tonight. and we'll see how it goes. And luckily for everybody who's coming, I am not cooking one single thing. So everybody has a chance to survive the dinner. We like to plan things out that way. All right. Well, let's get to it. As you know, these Wednesday shows, just Frank and Lisa, just Lisa and Frank. Lisa and I have a bevy of things to discuss today. So I don't know about you, but I think I hear some music in the background. Do you hear it? Let's listen for a moment. Oh, yes. Oh, yes, I hear that music. I'm sure you can hear it too. That can only mean one thing. It's time for the great, the terrific, the one-of-a-kind, the completely clothes-free and fully smiling, our naturism correspondent, Lisa Monroe. And here she is, the one and only, the one-of-a-kind, the completely clothes-free and fully smiling, our naturism correspondent, Lisa Monroe. Good morning, Lisa. How are you today?
Good morning, Frank. I'm doing great. It's going to be a very, very busy day.
We can tell people up front, I have a home studio as well,
hmm
and that is where we are today in my home recording this show to be released today at 12 noon. And the kitchen already smells great. I don't know what's cooking down there or exactly what you've been doing, but so far it smells like Thanksgiving. How about that?
It does smell like Thanksgiving. Actually, there's a couple of turkeys. We decided to do two, even though there's only going to be about 12 or so people here. You don't ever want to run out. So we're doing two relatively small turkeys and, all of the trimmings. And just remember something, I make dressing, I do not make stuffing. Stuffing is put in the bird. Dressing is a southern thing, so don't call it stuffing. I'm just
Oh,
gonna warn you in advance.
I didn't realize there was a difference. So if it's not stuffed in the turkey, it's made apart from the turkey. It's called dressing.
Well, at least in the South it is. Now, a lot of people will call it both in some areas, but in the South, we do dressing. We don't do stuff.
Yeah, that's my mom, also a great cook, always made, I guess, both, but we called everything stuffing. She'd stuff the turkey, but then she'd make extra apart from the turkey. But everything was called stuffing. So I didn't
Yeah.
know that. Okay,
Yep.
I'll be careful with my terms.
That's your Southern cooking lesson for the day.
Yeah. Now, is there any truth to the rumor? One of our people coming tonight, we'll talk about that in a minute, asked you, is there going to be turkey there? And you said, well, of course Frank is going to be there. Any truth to the rumor you said that?
I plead the fifth. I'm not commenting. No comment.
Okay. All right. Well, it's tonight, obviously. We asked people to come here at 6 p.m. We have 5 couples, 10 people altogether, plus the 3 of us. Jennifer's joining. She was going to bring somebody. I guess she's not now. So it's just the 3
Yeah.
of us. What time do you think we will sit down to eat if they arrive at 6?
Well, the one thing I am is very timely. So I like to get guests here. So we'll sit down about 7. That gives them time to get acclimated, maybe have an hors d'oeuvre, get, something to drink, tea, coffee, whatever else they want, and kind of relax and then kind of get hungry from the aromas. So around 7. Around 7.
All right. I was hoping for 6:01, but I'll accept 7. That's fine. I'll go with
Be
that.
patient.
Yeah. Well, I'm ready to have dinner now. It smells so good. And it's probably not even more than 10% on its way to being done, I'm guessing, right?
And no, there's a lot of stuff prepared, but ahead of time just needs to go in the oven and warm up. So we'll do those in staggered increments so that we have everything hot at the same time because that's important.
That's right. All right. Yes. And we will taste Jennifer's pies.
Yes.
I don't have an update on that yet. I do have some information that I will not share,
Okay.
only because I'm not sure if it's going to come to fruition. She had a few options on the table she was playing around with, but we'll find out tonight. She's bringing pies, as in more than one,
hmm
and I don't know if they're from the local public, if she made them from scratch. I don't know. I mean, I have an idea, but I don't want to say any more. Let's wait until Saturday if you're okay with that.
I'm perfectly fine with that.
All right. Well, on the last show, we got to talking about radio, and it all stemmed from our use of video. Should we or should we not, and all that good stuff. And we talked a little bit about the art of radio. art of podcasting, and I compared it somewhat to the art of writing.
Hmm.
When you write, and you do write a lot, the reader has to picture a lot of things because you don't tell them everything. An example I recently used was the woman got out of a car in her best suit as she headed into the building.
Hmm.
Now, okay, so what kind of car, what kind of dress, what color car, what color dress, what kind of a building? Is it one story? Is it 100 stories? All of that is left to the imagination, and the reader can figure out. Maybe you've dropped clues along the way before or after,
Hmm.
but the reader has to put all that together. Well, in a TV show or a movie, they show you. There's a Maserati pulling up and a lady in a red dress getting out,
Hmm.
going into a 5-story building. Well, no imagination at all. It's there. It is. That's exactly what's going on. Whereas the art of radio, we talked about old time radio, which predates us. We are not that old
No, we are
yet.
not.
The family would gather around and listen to the Lone Ranger and other shows or whatever they had back then. I think even Gunsmoke, which later became a TV show, I think that started off as a radio show, didn't it? You remember?
It did, I believe.
Yeah, I
I
think so.
think most of those shows that came on television did start that way.
Okay. And so you had to imagine everything. You would hear the story, but okay, so what color horse is that? How many bad guys are there? Are there 10? Are there 1,000? You had to picture all that in your mind.
Hmm.
And so I came across this article, this longtime radio guy who was one of my favorites. And actually, even as a kid, I stole some ideas from him. And I use the word stole loosely. Everybody, you hear something that works for you, you use it and refine it for your own needs. And I won't get into all the nuances there. But he recently passed away. And this author, Mitch Albom, I think many people know him. He really started off as a sports writer, has a radio show,
Hmm.
and then he has a bunch of books that are huge bestsellers. And I have some, as you know, we've talked about it before, I have some personal experiences with Mitch Albom that I will not discuss on the show.
Yes.
We will keep this above board.
Yes.
But he wrote an article on that guy because that guy also had an influence on Mitch Albom. Because at some point, Mitch Albom ended up at the same radio station as the guy who passed away. And the guy who passed away is probably 15, 20 years older than Mitch Albom. And he was amazed when he saw him work. He said he would come in with a few briefcases filled with notes about everything that could possibly happen on today's show. And he guessed he did 70,000 interviews in his career, and he was just amazed at how hard the guy worked to give the impression that everything was just smooth and easy. He's just talking to everybody behind the scenes where he was really working his rear end off. And so part of the article I talked about that I would read on today's show, and I want to do that now, if you're okay with that. Is that all right?
No, it's I've read this article and I love this part.
Okay.
It's terrific.
All right, so I grabbed 4 paragraphs. The first 2 are from the first half of the article, and the second 2 are from the bottom half of the article, but I put them all together because it captures what I wanted to look at here.
Hmm.
So he says there's a wonderful scene in the movie American Graffiti where a confused high school grad seeks out the radio legend Wolfman Jack to make a request. He climbs a remote broadcast tower where he finds a bearded man working by himself. "Are you the Wolfman?" the young man asks. The man laughs and says no, but he promises to try and get the request to the famous broadcaster who he says is likely in some exotic place around the world. The two shake hands, but as the young man leaves, he glances through the slightly ajar door and sees the man howling into the microphone. It realizes he actually just met his hero working all alone after midnight. Try this experiment sometime. Close your eyes and listen to someone speak to you. It's a whole different experience than seeing your conversationalist. It feels closer, more intimate. And that's the beauty of radio. Someone miles away, maybe thousands of miles, can speak to you as if you're in the room. I could not have written that any better. That's basically what we've been talking about. Call it the magic of radio. I call it the art and science of radio, but terms don't matter. Close your eyes and listen And it's a totally different experience than seeing your conversationalist. Just like reading a book is different than watching a TV show or a movie. And the beauty of radio, it's more intimate, it feels closer. Someone several thousand miles away can speak to you as if you're in the room. That is what we do on this show. That is with intent, and we start off that way. We're still that way. Any thoughts on that article or anything about what I just talked about?
Well, first off, you just said it was in our intent to do this, and it was absolutely our intent to do this because we wanted to do what we knew made us love radio and love listening to radio. And it doesn't really even matter the topic. What it has to do with is the connection. And because you can make that connection in any way. So that's important. As far as the article goes, I think it illustrates two things. It illustrates the isolation sometimes of the radio host or hosts in this case, that they are sometimes alone in this, and so they are actually kind of, I don't know how, in their own head a little bit, talking to someone specifically, and so we kind of direct that voice into the microphone to someone who's got earphones in, who's listening to the show. So I think this was a fabulous little explanation of how we really feel about what we do.
Yeah, and I that's exactly how I've always approached radio, and I know you do too. We're not just jabbering away to hear ourselves talk and then, oops, let's go ahead and stop. We're actually picturing ourselves as though we are talking straight to you, the listener, not just putting words out hoping you hear them. We're actually in our minds. I hate to use the word pretend because that's not strong enough. I
Mm-mm.
actually believe you
Mhm.
are in the room right here and you're listening to
Mhm.
us. And that's what gives us that intimate sound, the real people sound, the
Mhm.
genuine sound, and that's what people have appreciated. But there it is in
Mhm.
black and white
Yeah.
from a guy who's world famous
Mhm.
as a writer. So I thought we'd share that. And any final thoughts before we move to the next item?
No, I just think that, it's important that, people enjoy and understand what radio and what podcasting can do. You don't always need that visual. And I think it's important sometimes to let your imagination give you what you need from what you're listening to. So, it's kind of six of one, half dozen of the other, I guess, in a lot of people's minds, but I like it this way.
All right. I haven't told you this before, either on the air or apart from the show, but your expression of six of one, half dozen of another was a widely and very often used expression by my own dad. Not that you remind me of my dad. Don't misunderstand me. There's
Okay, good.
major differences between the two of you, which we do not have to list off right now. But every time you say that, it reminds me of my dad, who passed away a very long time ago. But
Mhm.
where did you learn that expression? Is that your parents use it too, or what?
I suppose they did. Maybe a teacher. I don't know. It's just always been kind of part of my lexicon. I tend sometimes I try to keep myself from talking in those kind of terms. I'll use something like that kind of I'm not sure if it's a metaphor or what it is. I always got confused about those in school, but so I try to stay away from them as much as possible. But that one always fits the situation in some ways. So, but I don't remember where I heard it first.
Okay, you didn't know my
Mhm.
dad without telling me, did you?
Nope, I did not.
All right. Just wondering if you were stalking me even back then. Like
Ugh,
someday I'm going to be on the radio with this Frank guy.
stalking? Oh,
Yeah.
okay. That's an interesting term. All right. No, I was not.
Okay,
I promise.
just verifying that for my own peace of mind. Now I can sleep well tonight.
Yeah, okay, good. I'm glad. No, no one's stalking you, Frank. No one. No.
I don't know
Maybe.
about that. Maybe you're not, but we'll let that go for now for some other issues.
Yes.
All right, let's move on. We have yet another poem from the great Paul Priestley. He's one of our listeners, and again, I think he was with us that very first week, July 1st of 2023. I think he was with us from the beginning. Lives on the West Coast, and he has sent many poems. We've read many of them on the air. I think we've read every one he has sent. And he has another one, which I found rather interesting, just how we put it together. He starts off with, without rhyming, I thought I would try my hand at something more basic. Here is some poetry I call I Couldn't Do That. exclamation point. Every time he says, I couldn't do that in the poem, there's an exclamation point. So I'll read the first stanza, and then the second stanza is fairly lengthy. I'll have you do that if you don't mind. Is that okay?
No problem.
All right. So the title of the poem is I Couldn't Do That. So here we go. Seeing other people naked, I couldn't do that. Others seeing me naked, I couldn't do that. Take it from there.
Swimming without a suit? I couldn't do that. Hiking? I would be so exposed. I couldn't do that. Volleyball naked? I couldn't do that. Lounging by the pool with nothing on but a smile? I couldn't do that. Go with you to a family naturist resort? I couldn't do that. Hiking, volleyball, games, and swimming? I have to put clothes on now to go home? I don't want to do that.
I think that's great.
Great. Great.
That's so typical of people who first tiptoe / wander into the really shallow end of the naturism life. Well, I can't do that. I could
No,
never do that.
no.
And then it becomes stop, put my clothes on. Oh, I don't want to do that.
Nope.
That's exactly every scenario I've ever seen has been that way. A couple thought, I don't know about this, but then they came back. So everybody I personally know who has tried it, they can't believe how great it is, and they can't believe they didn't do it years ago. But yeah, I couldn't do that, and don't you dare try to drag me away from what I'm doing because I enjoy it. Another great poem by Paul Priestley. Any thoughts on that before we move along?
Well, it's really true because a couple of people who are coming to their little Thanksgiving gathering are people who first joined the naturism group with us in the backyard. And because they were reticent, they didn't know what to do, but they found out they enjoyed it. Since then, they've been to a nearby nude beach and, I think a couple times, and they're thinking about going to a resort. So, it's getting past that, oh my God, I couldn't do that kind of thing, and getting to the point where they're going, I'm going to do that and enjoy it. So Paul's poem is perfect.
Yeah, it's like so many things in life. And I don't know if you have anything in your mind that, well, somebody asked you to do something, well, I could never do that. And not naturism, but something else, maybe far less innocuous or whatever. And then they ask you, well, maybe I could do that. Well, okay, let me think about it. All right, fine, I'll do it. And when we get to naturism and do that, it's life changing. But before we get to the naturism thing again, can you recall anything like that in life where somebody said, hey, Lisa, why don't we do this? Oh, no, that's not for me. And then eventually over time you realize, why don't I give it a shot? And then you actually ended up enjoying it.
Maybe. I'm trying to think of an example. I'm pretty sure I've done that because, I've had like a lot of people say, hey, you should go with us to this restaurant or this club, especially in college or sometime after. And I've really not wanted to go. And then actually, okay, fine, I'll go with you and find out, it was a great place. It was nothing like I thought it was going to be. It was much calmer, much nicer, not as noisy. So, I think those kind of things, but nothing ever truly life shattering. I've had some people in my employment ask me to do some things that I would never do, and I did not go back and revisit those and do them. But no, nothing like what Paul is describing here.
Yeah. I can think of many times in life where that's happened. The one that comes to my mind now is my sister. When we were substantially younger, I was still in college, and she might have been still in college. I think she was. I think we were both in college. She was a huge fan of Bob Seger. Now, of course, I, being a classical musician and venturing into the world of jazz, I couldn't be caught dead listening to pop or rock. It
Uh-huh.
just didn't appeal to me at all. And she bought tickets. I think he had 4 concerts, 4 nights in a row. And she bought 2 tickets to each of the 4 concerts. And I remember telling her that's a little crazy. She goes, "Oh, but the guy's great." I said, "No, he's not. He plays rock and roll." And I just with disdain dismissed the guy. And she lined up a friend to go to each concert. And on the morning of the 4th concert, the friend called and she couldn't go. I don't know what happened. So she called everybody else. Nobody could go. And she even said, "I'll give you the ticket. Just go with me." Nobody could go. So she turned to me and said, "Would you like to go to the Bob Seger concert tonight?" I said, "Are you kidding me? Absolutely not." And she goes, "Oh, but I have no one to go with." And she explained she had been through every person in the phone book, basically, and nobody can go. And I said, no, it's just not what I do. And, I reminded her, I am a classical musician.
Mm-hmm.
Can't be caught dead rock and roll. I mean, why would I want to? It was kind of my attitude. And admittedly, that was a very arrogant, pompous attitude. But, I was young and dumb, I guess. And she finally said, and it wasn't really the greatest part of town. And there were always reports of things happening to people as they went to the venue or leaving the venue or even at the venue. And she was a single female, reasonably attractive, at least according to other males. And she said, well, it comes down to this. I'm going to the concert. If you don't go with me, I'm going alone. I thought, well, I can't do that. I mean, even as a brother, and we fought like, tooth
Mm-hmm.
and nail for years. I couldn't just let her go down there alone because if something happened, that would be on me forever. And I couldn't allow that. So
Right.
when she put it that way, and of course I argued for a while. Now seriously, you can't go there alone. She goes, oh, but I am because I really want to see him. All right. So okay, fine, I'll go, but please don't ever do this to me again. I'm only going to make sure you're as safe as I can help keep you safe. Went to the concert and I'm sitting there, yeah, whatever. Let's, looking at my watch. Can we get the concert started? Got to get home. And all of a sudden, the band came out from the back curtains, and about 5 or 6 guys. I don't remember exactly. And I kept waiting for them to introduce Bob Seger. Okay, the band came out. Now where's Bob Seger? And I even whispered to my sister. I said, "Well, where's Bob Seger?" And she said, "That's him in the middle, standing at the microphone." I said, "He just came out with the band like a regular guy." And she said, "Yeah, that's kind of what he is. He's not." She said, "He's not an arrogant classical musician. He's a regular guy." Okay, all right, great. So okay, well that impressed me actually. He didn't need a big introduction, like a lot of stars do. They send the band out, they play a little bit, and no, ladies and gentlemen, he just came out like he's a regular guy. And from basically the first note, the first chord, and certainly the first tune, I thought, my goodness, I have really missed out on something. These guys in the band, including Seeger himself, phenomenally over the top, terrific musicians. Didn't matter classical, jazz, pop, rock, whatever. They were at the top of their game on their instrument, and I had missed it. And I was again 19, maybe. What do you know when you're 19? Well, I thought I knew it all. Turns out I knew less than 1%. And from that moment on, I realized I need to pay attention to pop and rock because there are some outstanding musicians. There are some bad musicians there. And maybe that's the big difference. You can be a really bad musician and still make a lot of money in pop and rock. You can't do that in classical. If you're a bad musician, you're not going to be working. They won't hire you. But it turned my head around. And that's one of those things I was just talking about in terms of naturism. Well, I couldn't do that. That was kind of my attitude toward rock and roll. I can't do that. I can't do that. Now yeah, I want to do that. Let's go. If there's, and I've been to many concerts since then. Did that story surprise you at all? Any aspect of it?
No, not at all, because, when you do get kind of channeled into one thought about classical music is all that there is, and, maybe a good jazz coming along is good. And then you think about rock and roll and you think about and sometimes I think we think about bad rock and roll when we say that, when we're talking about not enjoying it. But Bob Seger is not bad. Bob Seger is fabulous. And I was a fan from the beginning. So I don't understand your problem with that. But there's some really fabulous music out there of all genres. It doesn't really matter what it is. They're great musicians and all. But yeah, I can understand, being reticent about you know, going to a concert, not thinking you're gonna enjoy it, and then finding out, "Whoa, this is not bad."
Yeah. Well, I had no problem with Bob Seger as a musician or as an individual.
Yeah, I know.
My problem was with rock and roll and pop. Get it away from me. I have no time for it. No use. Let's go. I'll go to the concert with you. Hopefully, this dang thing will be over in a couple hours. I can get home and never do this again. But then I realized, well, I've been missing out. And we've talked about that before. Always seek knowledge, always seek wisdom, and that's how you grow. Well, I grew that night to realize there's a whole lot more going on in the world than just classical and jazz. So back to naturism here. When you try it, Somebody asked you to try it. Well, no, I can't do that. Like Paul said,
Mm-hmm.
I can't take my clothes off. I can't just sit there with nothing on but a smile. I couldn't do that. And
Mm-mm.
then you try it, and then you realize, as I did with Seeger, then you realize what you've been missing. It's like, why didn't I do this years ago? Except with naturism, it's magnified and multiplied zillions of times in terms of the pleasure and the joy that it brings to you, right?
It certainly is because it's not just enjoying the music, it's enjoying every aspect of life that you get with naturism. So it's enjoying the sea, the sun, the air, sitting at home and on the couch watching TV. There's all kinds of levels of where that enjoyment just comes to fruition. And so, yeah, it's a good thing.
And I had a guy, maybe 15 years ago or so, talk to me about the band Metallica. And I thought, okay, I did the Seeger thing. I can't do Metallica. That's just not going to happen. You got to be kidding me. It's a whole different
Yeah.
ballgame. And then I remembered my experience. I learned a whole lot at age 19 going to Seeger. I said, go ahead, throw an album on.
Hmm.
And, there's a lot of screaming in heavy metal.
Hmm.
That's just kind of, a big part of what they do. But the musicianship blew me away. There was one guitar player, I can't think of the guy's name. Lars, does that sound right?
Yes,
I,
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 I think I know who you're talking about.
okay. He was a really big guitar hero to this particular guy. And his teacher knew a promoter of the club where the venue where this Metallica was going to play. And he said, come with me. I'll get you in. I'll get you in the front row. And you'll see, I hope I have the name right, Lars, or whatever his name was. You'll be able to see him from about 10 feet away during the whole concert. And of course, later, I didn't go to that, but he later told me because it's the most unbelievable thing in the world because my life has totally turned around now because I thought it was great before. And now he didn't use these words, but now it's multiplied gazillions of times too. So maybe that's the lesson in Paul Priestley's poem, as far as naturism and everything else in life. Don't just say no, think it over, try it. And if it doesn't work, then say no. But you might be surprised at what you learn, as I did, correct?
Absolutely, and I had the same experience with heavy metal. I had not even thought about that, but it was something I didn't want any part of, and then someone finally convinced me, "Listen to this," and I did, and I'm like, "Wow, that's a whole lot better than what I thought it was going to be." And musically, even the singers were better than what I thought they were going to be. So, we have a lot of prejudices that we take with us into certain things, and sometimes we just need to let them go and find out we were.
Yeah, yeah, I have no problem being wrong. I really don't, and that's part of that whole seeking knowledge, seeking wisdom, using discernment.
Yep.
I like to tell people I don't need to be right, but I do want to be correct. So
Mhm.
if I'm wrong right now, I want to correct that so I'm not wrong in the future. But I don't stomp in and say, well, Metallica is terrible and awful, and that's it, and I know that I'm right, and by golly, you can take a hike. Well, that's just silly. Then you're not going to grow at all.
Mm-mm.
So, you try it and you might realize, if your mind is open to something new, such as naturism and wearing nothing but a smile, as Paul Priestley said, you
Mhm.
might just find out the world's a better place than you knew. How about that?
Absolutely, and it can very well be if you just let it go.
That's right. All right, let's move on to our third part here. But before we do, I want to remind everybody we are the official podcast of the American Association for Nude Recreation. Are you a member? If so, great. But if not, you can become one right now. Just go to aanr.com, follow the navigation to membership, and just like Lisa Monroe is, and just like I am, you will become a fully fledged member of the American Association for Nude Recreation within a few moments. How about that, Lisa Monroe, for the deal of the day?
It's painless, it's wonderful, and it gives you a lot of things, to look forward to, and, I think there are discounts and all kinds of things that come along with that membership, especially if you go to resorts and things. So, it's a great deal. It's a
Yeah,
good deal.
it really is. And they protect our rights. They're out there fighting battles every day, communities, governments, to keep our nudist rights, maybe nudist privileges is a better way to say it, in place so they don't go away. So join today. Check them out, aanr.com. Well, you are listening to Naked Nudists and Naturists, episode 144 today, our Wednesday extravaganza. Lisa, I think it's our 18th straight Wednesday. After saying we do most Wednesdays, we've done them all. And I think, I have to look this up. I think today is the 18th straight Wednesday and still going strong. How about that?
We sure are, and I think we got on a roll, and I don't think we know how to stop. Maybe, and I don't want to stop, so it works out perfectly. But it's sort of like if this is Tuesday, where are we? There's that old movie. If it's Tuesday, this must be Belgium.
Yeah,
About a tour group, and it was a comedy, and it was really funny. And I kind of feel that way about sometimes going, okay, if this is Wednesday, which show are we on? I'm not real sure, but we'll get there.
that's right.
We haven't messed up yet, it said it was July 10th and it was, February 4th. I don't know, so we'll
That's
figure it out.
yeah. We're still above ground in terms of our minds still working, so that's good.
Sort of, yes.
All right, let's move on now. The other day we started this letter, Mark from France. Everybody knows Mark from France, nudeandhappy.com. And we got through the first three paragraphs. We read them. We discussed them. We said that we would get back and do the rest of the letter. So let's do that now. Before we do, though, Lisa, let's read those first three paragraphs again.
Okay,
If you're okay, I'll do the first one and you do the second one. We'll go from there. Is that okay?
sounds good.
All right. So, hey, Frank. And again, I had written him a letter personally, so he's responding to me personally. Don't take offense that you're not included this time.
I'll try, but no, but it's Mark, so I know he means no offense at all, so it's okay.
All right. Hey, Frank. Yes! Exclamation point. I listened to it, meaning episode 138. I listened to it when it was released on Wednesday, but in fast forward mode, and then I came back to it this morning during my naked workout. Man, you made me laugh and blush when you and Lisa were finding artists called by their first names only. In France, we have a lot. I'm not going to try to pronounce those names. Well, I guess Sheila, Delita, Angele, Zaz or Zaz, Jules, Strome. I just blew them
Yeah,
up. But anyway,
no, works for me.
but I don't think I'm as famous as those and the ones you mentioned. I'm just Mark from nudeandhappy.com, aka Stan Muir, a passionate nudist and naturist who happens to write down his passion. And take it away.
But hey, thank you so much for reading my mail and commenting on it, and particularly around the fact that our body has been designed to be clothes free. This is something I deeply believe in, an aspect that we are probably not contemplating enough. We tend to measure ourselves to the fact that we invented civilization that allows human beings to strive. But particularly in the last 200 years, we humans are destroying our planets and we are destroying our health. There are pandemics of obesity, diabetes, mental health issues, and cancers, all caused by our modern way of living and are destroying life around us. And we call ourselves civilized.
All right. And then finishing up the part one that we already covered, I believe that nudism and naturism are a part of the solution. We all know and live the many benefits of nudism and naturism in our physical, mental, psychological, emotional, and spiritual health. Every guest you have shares those many benefits and how naturism and nudism have transformed their lives for the better. We all know that one of the biggest regrets of late naturists was to not have started sooner. We also know that one of the most important aspects of naturism is respect for oneself, others, and the environment. It's not about being naked. It's about seeing others as human beings, and nudity allows us to be totally vulnerable to one and another. And that's the end of part one. We've already covered that. We've discussed it. Now we're moving on to the remainder of Mark's letter. And Lisa, can you take the first paragraph that's awaiting us?
I certainly can. When we're naked, we've nothing to hide, as we say. It's true physically for sure, but I feel it's also true psychologically. All this is buried deep down in our DNA. The moment we flip on the switch of nudity is normal and off the switch of nudity is sexual, something happens to our body and brain that triggers chemicals that make us feel good, open, and happy.
Again, it seems like every time Mark writes something, I have no comment. It's hard to come up with a comment because it's so spot on.
Mm.
It's just he hits it every single time. It buried down in our deep in our DNA. Absolutely. Again, that's how we were born. We want to get back to that. And when we flip off the switch of Nudity is sexual. That's what permeates society now. Magazines, TV shows, movies. The clothes come off, and sex is coming on any moment now. As opposed to the flip on of the switch, nudity is normal, which it is, but society has gotten away from that. And it seems like only a small percentage actually get, I feel a whole lot better when the clothes are off. And then, as we've dealt with people who have written in, am I weird? Does this make me kind of a psycho that I like to be naked all the time? No, it actually makes you normal. Maybe everybody else is a little off their rocker based on what society has told them to do. Any thoughts on that paragraph?
Mark tends to get right to the basic core of the base element of what life is, and naturism and being nude is kind of that core value that we all have, that core feeling that we all you know should be enjoying, and we're not. We hide behind things, and society makes us think it's bad. So I love the way he phrases things, and he's right. Nudity is normal.
Yeah. All right, next paragraph. And he talks about why he has, for lack of a better term, a pen name. I guess it is a pen name. Nom de plume.
Mm-hmm.
That's
And
actually
I'm the
French.
plume. Yes, it is.
Yeah. So Mark's going to be impressed that I knew that off the top of my head.
Yes, he is. I'm sure.
Yeah, I can just see him right now. That Frank is a genius. He knows French. But that also ends the end of my knowledge of French. So don't get too impressed there, Mark.
Yes.
Anyway, I also wanted to come back to why I use MARC. Unfortunately, I may love nudism and naturism, but I'm also conscious that I'm part of a minority lifestyle that can be weaponized in a world that is becoming more and more violent. Kids grow up, jobs change, political climates swing. A post from 2025 can haunt a 2035 school board run. Anonymity now, freedom later. I am a proud nudist, but pride doesn't require self sabotage. Yeah. The goal is to explain that nudity is normal, not handing bigots a loaded gun. That is why I am partially hiding behind my first name and my pen name for the moment. You had a lot more to say on this than I did. I had a lot to say, actually, but you had even more. So I'm going to just turn it over to you to comment on that.
He's exactly right. And I think the line that I love about this, I am a proud nudist, but pride doesn't require self sabotage, is very important. And as a former HR person, I used to fight against, when social media came out, especially Facebook, and there some of these groups of for resume dumps where you could go in and search resumes, and they worked with companies, and we had partnerships and all this kind of stuff. And I remember one time they came to us, and we had this meeting, and they were talking about how wonderful it was. Now they were going to take your resume, if you put it on their website, and they were going to tie it into the Facebook page that you had, and that way, as an HR person, you could go in and see if they really were qualified for you. And the problem was the very first examples, and I've fought against that because I thought we have no right to invade privacy. We do background checks. That's all we need to do. And so the very first person that they used in his example was in nursing, was a nurse who the very first post on her page that day was, "I don't want to go to work. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. They're crazy there. I don't want to go to work." And I said, I said, "Stop right there in this, it was a Zoom meeting or some sort of meeting like that." And I said, "This is ridiculous." I said, can any of you say there was a day you didn't want to go to work?"
Yeah.
So you cannot use a snapshot in time to do this. And that's what the problem is with social media, because people tend to be very spontaneous and very open and think that they're only talking to their friends when they're actually talking to the entire world.
Yeah.
And that's why I think that protecting ourselves in a lot of ways, especially if we have jobs that require us to be, for lack of a better word, above priority. I mean, that we have to be very proprietary in how we behave, then, it's just a dangerous, dangerous thing. And the other thing I really hate is that you hear these people all the time going, "I posted my photo on so and so, and now it's like on a porn site and it's been picked everywhere." And I'm like, well, you know what? maybe you shouldn't have posted the photo.
Yeah.
And don't blame them, blame yourself. And yes, I understand people shouldn't be doing that. It's incorrect. It's wrong to do that. But they're going to do that and you know it. So if you know it, even if they're the really one that's wrong, protect yourself from that situation. So I think yeah, it's handing a bigots a loaded gun.
Yeah,
He's right.
you get out there and live your life. I'm a proud naturist, nudist, close free living person for all the right reasons. And then you go for a certain job, or like he said, run for school board or whatever.
Yeah.
And somebody says, oh, wait a minute, I saw you online, like 1,000 pictures being naked, talking about I'm naked as a jaybird, 25'8". Is that you? And, well, yeah, it's tied to my name. Yeah, it's me. Oh, well, we can't hire then, Frank. You won't be able to work here because once that gets out, the staff won't respect you, and our customers will stop. Sorry, you're qualified. We just can't take you. Well, that's the biggest shame of all. I don't think anybody would actually be that open and honest from an HR department. They're not going to tell you why they're not hiring you,
No.
but often that happens, and people get a raw deal in life because they're an acknowledged naturist. So he's right, and that's why he uses a pen name so it can't come back. And hey, aren't you the Stan Muir who got naked and wrote naked books and ran a naked blog and guilty as charged? Well, we can't take you, and that's awful. But he's right; that is the reality. So, yeah, I know. I remember you liked that line the best.
Hmm.
His goal was to explain that nudity is normal, not handing bigots a loaded gun.
Absolutely.
So you just have to be careful about that.
Absolutely.
And then the last two paragraphs that we'll read here. This does not stop me from publishing blogs and posts, to meet nudist friends, to greet my neighbors naked, and to freely talk about naturism with work colleagues. But for the vast majority outside, I keep compartments neatly sealed. Of course, I cannot end this email. Now, see, here's where he shows just how smart he is.
Ah, what insight.
I cannot end this email by not congratulating you about NNN, the work you're doing for nudism and naturism, and for being my key workout partners.
Yay. That's
Right.
great. We
That's
we
right.
serve a purpose. I love it.
That's right. Without you, I would not push as hard as I'm pushing my weights. And I'm sure that despite my full nudity, my workouts would be duller. Well, great. And I know that he means that because he
Hmm.
told me that before. He works out to our show. And so we're a source of energy for him in that area as well. Now, he also attached uh, about a 2 or 3 minute a vocal thing.
Hmm.
He said, one more thing. I told you I had a friend who knew Aria Andre. So I've attached a vocal he left me that is self explanatory. We won't play that today. We'll save that for another time, only in the interest of time. But pretty funny, pretty
Yes.
entertaining. And I won't say anything more about that. And then he signed off, Mark, nudist, founder and editor of nudeandhappy.com. But there is a PS. So Lisa, why don't you take it from there?
He says, P.S. My mail stayed for a few days in the draft mode, and I had the time to listen to episode 138. Two comments. Lisa is called an M dash, which I remembered after the fact.
Yeah.
And Frank is not to give an afterthought, but to put an emphasis. And Lisa, thank you for mentioning my writing. It's much appreciated.
Yeah, I think we had one of those moments after the show was over. We looked at each other and almost at the same time said, M
M
dash.
dash, exactly.
Duh.
You get on the spot sometimes and it's like your brain just goes dead and you can't think of anything. So, in all these years of writing and all I know is that I can do it on the laptop without having to worry about what it's called. So, there you go.
That's right. And as far as it being an afterthought, I forgot. Oh, I know what it was. Somebody wrote in and
Hmm.
talked about you, and then an M dash, and then talked about
Yes.
me.
Yes.
And I portrayed that as, oh, so somebody told me you better add Frank into that sentence. So he put an M dash there and added me. And so Mark is saying, no, it's not an afterthought. It's
An emphasis.
an emphasis. Yeah. So the way I say it, it's an emphasis on the fact that he forgot me. So see, I turned it around again.
Oh, you're going to get into trouble.
I'm just,
Shame on you.
yeah, we just have fun around here, just joking around.
Yes, we do.
But yeah, his writing is excellent. Every blog post, yes. His books, yes. And we invite you to check them out. nudeandhappy.com. You can find everything there, and the link is in the show notes in case you forget it later on. Lisa Monroe, any last thoughts on Mark from France and what he has said today?
Well, I do want to say that nudeandhappy.com has been one of the best sources for our website, especially. We get a lot of people coming from nudeandhappy.com to the website. And so we appreciate the fact that Mark has done such an incredible job on that website. He's got such a following, and they're actually coming to us too. And we really appreciate the time and effort that they take to come see our website.
Yep, absolutely. Now, the time we've been doing the show, we don't really have anybody looking over the kitchen.
Mm-mm.
Are you reasonably secure that nothing has burned at this?
Yes, I am. Everything was out of the oven that needed to be, and nothing's in. So all the burners were off. Everything's fine.
Okay. Not that I smell fire or anything. I just
Yeah.
happen to think, you kind of left it alone. It's like, okay, so we're safe. We're good to go.
Yes.
And our naturist Thanksgiving dinner is tonight, 6 o'clock
Yeah.
p.m. Eastern time. That's not an invitation. We don't want thousands of people showing up. Say, hey, Frank,
Well,
Lisa, we're here.
I didn't cook that much, people. So maybe another time.
These are just 5 couples we know from the area, and then a few of them we got to know through the show, by the way.
Hmm.
And then Jennifer will be here. I'm looking forward to seeing what she brings, whether it's something she made, something she bought, and ultimately it doesn't matter. We're just
No.
everyone's contributing, so it's going to be a good time will be had by all tonight. So I'm looking forward to it. And the what do you call it? The cherry on top will be your cooking. Looking
Oh,
forward to that. Looking forward to that the most.
well, let's hope it is. I try, but let's hope it is.
All right. Well, Lisa Monroe, with that, why don't we head for the hills? We'll turn you loose in the kitchen to finish up what you need. We'll start the shindig at 6 tonight. And then somehow, some way, you and I will come back this Saturday for episode 145. How about that?
And we'll be here. Maybe not, and maybe stuffed from food for 2 days, but yes, we'll be here.
Yeah, I hope so anyway. Absolutely. All right, Lisa, stay clothes free until we see you next time, and then we'll see you on Saturday morning.
Okay, and happy Thanksgiving to all of our people who celebrate it, and just have a great weekend to everyone else.
Yep, well said. The very terrific Lisa Monroe as she does her Thanksgiving dance out of the studio. Just turned around and gave me one of those looks again. Sorry about that, Lisa. Just having fun in the studio day before Thanksgiving. But she does a whole bunch around here, as you know. Our website work, helps with Patreon page, does all of the merchandise, anything merchandise related. And I do mean every last detail is handled solely by Lisa Monroe. Comes in twice a week for these shows to do her segments, and now is putting our Thanksgiving dinner together. It's kind of amazing. And my goal today, and for the rest of today, is to stay out of her way. I don't even want her to spot me because I might get yelled at for that. So I'm just going to stay out of her way and let her do her thing in the kitchen, which always turns out to be 100% great. And then we'll enjoy our naturist Thanksgiving. We have 10 people coming over tonight, plus the 3 of us, Lisa, Jennifer, and myself. So a good time will be had by all. Yes, we'll dive in the pool for a little bit. Yes, we'll use the hot tub. No plans to use the grill. I should have thought about that ahead of time, but we're not using the grill tonight. At least there are no plans to do so. But we will have a good time, and we'll give you a little report on either Saturday's show or next week. We'll see how it goes. So if you live in the USA, we're curious how Thanksgiving goes for you. What do? Do you go somewhere? Do you have people over? And what does the Thursday look like for you? And obviously, I'm a pretty big football fan, which is putting it mildly. I don't talk much about it, but yeah, I am. And so Thanksgiving Day in America is also football day, which I'm not sure if that should be the way it is. But it is the way it is. We have 3 NFL football games tomorrow, so a lot of people will be watching those. Do you know how that tradition started, by the way? I just happen to know this information for no particular reason. The Detroit Lions became a franchise back in the 30s, and they were competing with the Detroit Tigers baseball team. And the baseball team was wildly popular. And the lions came to town and nobody noticed or cared. And the owner said, you know what? We got to do something to stand out here to make people aware that we have a product. Why don't we play on Thanksgiving? Nobody plays on Thanksgiving. We'll be the only game in the entire country on Thanksgiving, and maybe that way people will notice us. And that's exactly what they did. They played Thanksgiving, I want to say 1934 or 1935 was the first game. And they played every Thanksgiving since, other than when there were issues with World War II and some other things going on. And then at some point in the late 60s or early 70s, the Dallas Cowboys also began playing every single Thanksgiving day. And some years ago, they added a Thursday night game. It rotates to two different teams every year. No particular team plays there, but the first game is always the Lions, second game always the Cowboys, third game always two different teams from year to year. You just never know what you're going to learn when you come to Naked Nudists and Naturists. If nothing else, that will serve as good trivia information for your dinner tomorrow, and you can ask everybody, hey, you know how this football tradition started on Thanksgiving? Nobody will have a clue. And you can say, well, let me fill you in. And they'll think you're the smartest guy or gal in the room, and they'll be highly impressed. Okay, maybe not, but I gave it a shot. Well, we hope you have a great day tomorrow. Let us know. Let us know what you're going to do, or if it's after the fact, let us know what you did. And again, if you're alone, we're here with you. You can put us on anytime. We're in podcast land. You can listen to shows all day and just let us be there in that room with you to keep you entertained so that you're not alone. How is that for a deal? Well, we thank you for being with us today. Naked Nudists and Naturists, episode 144 today. And when you come back to us this coming Saturday, episode 145, our guest will be Stephanie Brown from Indiana Naturists. She and her husband, Chris, run that non-landed club and are doing an excellent job. They're always doing something for the club, whether it's an outing or a trip or somebody's house. A very busy and active club. And Stephanie Brown's also a member of the board of Anner Midwest. And so looking forward to part one of her interview this week and part two on episode 147. You can write to us anytime, any place, as I like to say, lots of ways to do it. Our email address, nakedforevermore@gmail.com. You can find us on Twitter, Blue Sky, Spotify, YouTube. You can write to us all four places. You can also write to us through our website, nakednudistandnaturist.com. And we do our best to get back to you as soon as we can. If it's been too long, just copy and paste or send the same message again. We will never ignore you, but sometimes we slip through the cracks here, and we try to never do that. But if it does happen, let us know, and we'll do better next time. Well, we hope you enjoyed today's show. Lots of things we talked about today with Mark's email, Mark from France, the Mitch Albom article, and, of course, the Paul Priestley poem. And so have a great Thanksgiving if you're in the United States of America. Everybody else, have a great Thursday. And we'll see you this coming Saturday for episode 145. Well, you've been listening to Naked, Nudists, and Naturists, episode 144 today. We give you a brand new show every Saturday morning, 6 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time, and on most Wednesdays, 12 noon Eastern Time. Continue to join us. Check us out on our website, nakednudistandnaturist.com, Spotify, Google, Amazon/Audible, Apple Podcasts, and also on Twitter. You can write us anywhere, anytime, any place. And we thank you for being with us today. Plan to join us for every single one of our shows here and have your clothes off when you're listening. We have our clothes off when we're broadcasting, enjoying the naturist life.
We celebrate clothes-free living for all. Remember to enjoy being naked and join us again for Naked Nudists and Naturists.
We drop a brand new show every Saturday morning, so come back and join us. Have your clothes off when you do for Naked, Nudists, and Naturists. Have a great clothes-free day.